Chapter 1897, The Zhang Eden. Olive's eyes lit up. Did you find something out in the KG Kingdom? Leibniz told her about the encounter with Tianhai City. Tianhai City's status was very special. First, he was a contract worker from the Huashu Kingdom who had come to the KG Kingdom to participate in construction projects, so he was still a citizen of the Huashu Kingdom. Second, he and his wife, Li Sungmi, had been persecuted by the KG Kingdom. And last but not least, he was the personal chef of Commander Ken Sane. He knows the upper echelons of the KG Kingdom and Ken Sane very well. Olive understood Leibniz's meaning. With Tianhai City's involvement, the Huashu Kingdom could directly participate in this matter with the most legitimate reason. And with Tianhai City as their guide and intelligence officer, it would be easier for them to find out the truth about Ken Sane. However, the source of this matter is still the Huashu Kingdom. Sister Leibniz's gaze became serious. Among the two archbishops-level mutants in the Huashu Kingdom, only Chaos has the ability to best cross the ocean to do this. We have to find a way to convince him to get involved. The Eastern Orthodox Church has a very strong influence, and even Protestant Britannia has to give them some face. Not to mention the many powerful countries in Europe and the Western world, which can all be influenced by them. But right now, it would be unwise to start a large-scale war in order to seize the spear of Longinus. Stealing it, or beheading Ken Sane, would be the best options. To sum up, the Huashu Kingdom's Chaos is almost the only choice. He acted in a fair and upright manner, and could fight for justice for the citizens of the Huashu Kingdom. Olive said, "Send me the details of that person, and I'll go talk to Chaos." Tianhai City. The reconstruction of Tianhai City has been completed, and now the city is centered around Tianhai Fortress and the city cluster that has formed. Tianhai City has been destroyed several times, but each reconstruction has been even more complete. Today's Tianhai City is even luxurious. Zhang Yi followed the example of Xinjing City and implemented district-wide heating in the area directly under the dome. The entire fortress covers an area of more than 200 hectares. It includes farms, factories, laboratories, and residential areas. Zhang Yi's shelter is in the middle of the residential area and can be considered a city within a city. Moreover, the shelter can be separated from the Tianhai Fortress and used as a source fortress. The defense of the shelter is at the highest level. How exaggerated is it? Let's just say that even if Zhang Yi is not here, Liu Karen alone can hold off the attacks of mutants of level White Bishop for a long time. This is mainly due to the advanced materials obtained from mechanical civilization and the barrier stones of the Nash Kingdom. At this time, Zhang Yi stood at the doors of the sanctuary, looking at the lush trees and flowers outside, feeling the warm sunlight shining on his body from above, and tears of excitement welled up in the corners of his eyes. This feeling is like the end of the world has passed and the world has returned to the way it was. Zhang Yi closed his eyes and felt the red light projected by the infrared rays on his eyelids, and he felt extremely comfortable. Zhou Qi put her arm around him and was also beaming with happiness. Everyone in the shelter was amazed at the beauty and grandeur of the Tianhai Fortress today. The sun in the sky was fake, but the temperature was real. With the Yuan stone vein resources in Zhang Yi's hands, the energy consumption of heating such a large area of space is negligible. A room temperature control system is not difficult to achieve. Greenhouse technology has been around for half a century, and now it is possible to create spring, summer, and autumn conditions inside the Tianhai Fortress. As for winter? Bah! Everyone hates winter and doesn't want to see snow inside the fortress. Outside the originally cold shelter, a thick lawn has been laid, and many beautiful trees have been planted in the front yard. Zhang Yi feels extraordinarily happy right now. If such days can continue forever, he would rather have nothing else. At this moment, the figure of the person in front of him, who is carefully pruning the trees, catches Zhang Yi's attention. The flat top, short stature, and glasses over his eyes are especially like an old friend. Li Jian? Zhang Yi called out his name, and the man turned around. It was indeed Li Jian. He was holding a pair of large shears in his hands and bowed to Zhang Yi, smiling, "Supreme Excellency." As you can see, this is the garden I have created for you. Are you satisfied? I have given it a name, the Zhang Eden, to express my admiration for you. Zhang Yi nodded with a smile. Very good, you have done a very good job. A huge swimming pool had been built in one corner of the courtyard, where Zhang Yi could swim. Of course, this belonged to Zhang Yi's inner courtyard. Outside the courtyard stood a group of metal lumps. Liu Karen, who had received mechanical life forms from Fremons, had repaired a batch of them, about 100. The combat effectiveness of these mechanical life forms, considering their attribute of not fearing death, was comparable to that of a lieutenant. Moreover, they could pose a huge threat to captain-level mutants. However, Zhang Yi did not let Liu Karen spend too much to repair them in large numbers. Because in this day and age, what is really lacking is top combat power. The Volt Shadow Troop, as well as these mechanical life-form soldiers, are more often than not responsible for clearing miscellaneous soldiers and handling miscellaneous tasks on the battlefield. Zhang Yi is very satisfied with the current situation. Yang Xinxin walked over and looked at the scene in front of her. Even her usually cold face showed a trace of reminiscence. If only this life could last forever. She sighed softly. More than a month later, Yang Xinxin successfully reached level Black Chariot with an ability index of 25,000 points. Yes, it was that dramatic. After being promoted to Epsilon and baptized by the Spirit Ocean, Yang Xinxin's ability index increased at an incredible rate. Even Zhang Yi couldn't help but exclaim that the differences between people were really huge. You have to understand that when they were in the Tianyu Palace, Zhang Yi and a being like Ichigard were both only chosen by one knight. But Yang Xinxin was chosen by 2 knights at the same time. Her limit may even be higher than Zhang Yi and Ichigard. But Zhang Yi has hardly seen Yang Xinxin go out of her way to practice or fight, and her supernatural energy is growing rapidly like drinking water. Yang Xinxin's explanation to Zhang Yi is I think, therefore I am. Yang Ming's Heart Sutra makes it very clear, the essence of the world is self-thinking. Yang Xinxin's IQ is too high, and perhaps she has long since seen through the essence of the world, which is why she is able to observe the world better. It is better to say that she is indifferent to all matters except when dealing with Zhang Yi, when she shows great concern. It is as if she is a natural observer, with the instinct to study things and gain knowledge. Zhang Yi took her cold little hand, still worried about the demon eye mark? The thing the two were most worried about now was none other than the demon eye mark on their chests. After all, knowing the truth about the world made it easier to feel an indescribable fear of the powerful Drucker Titans. Those were beings that even the creator, Kagago, had been unable to completely kill after several attempts to destroy the world. And after being targeted by such a being, it was impossible not to be afraid. Yang Xinxin said to Zhang Yi, Kagago has almost eliminated all opportunities for the Drucker Titans to live and reproduce in order to destroy them. But they have still tenaciously survived, by devouring other intelligent races. The Yihen tribe has already returned to the ether, so we, who have inherited the legacy of the Yihen tribe, are the most delicious food in their eyes. Confrontation with them is almost inevitable. Zhang Yi thought about what Olive had told him, and squeezed Yang Xinxin's hand a little harder. The one who marked us as Mammon, the sin of greed. If we can seal him away again, perhaps our mark will disappear. Yang Xinxin looked up at Zhang Yi. Brother, are you going to participate in the sealing operation of the Holy See of the Eastern Orthodox Church? That would be really dangerous. To be sure, the strength of those demon gods is terrifying to the point that humans cannot even imagine it with their greatest imaginations. At present, the highest level of human knowledge about mutants is just using imagination to set the king level with a supernatural ability index of over 90,000 points. And the strength of the Drucker Titan is definitely at this level, and even higher. The Omega supernatural ability level, which once only existed in theory and symbolized having no limits, is perhaps its true level of strength. Therefore, even though Zhang Yi now has a supernatural ability index of 35,000 points and also possesses the powerful armaments of mechanical civilization, he is still unable to come into contact with such a being. But we have to try. Zhang Yi took a deep breath. He looked at all the beauty in front of him. Li Jian and the gardeners were wearing overalls and carefully pruning the branches of the trees. They were so focused, and the scene was so beautiful. Do what you can, and leave the rest to fate. If we don't try, we won't stand a chance. This was already a disaster of apocalyptic proportions. And with the Yihen tribe returning to the ether, perhaps the 6th generation will have to face the greatest disaster the planet has ever known. To survive a disaster, you need not only strength, but also a lot of luck. When times are good, the world works together. When times are bad, the hero is not free. If fate is on my side, let me be able to resolve this crisis. If fate is not on my side, Zhang Yi smiled and shrugged, then let's meet in the ether. Perhaps when we are reincarnated as a spiritual essence in the next generation, we will meet again. Yang Xinxin took Zhang Yi's hand in return and said softly, the afterlife is too elusive. A spirit substance that has lost all memory will no longer be you or me. We only have this life to fight for. At this moment, Zhang Yi's communication device beeped, and a communication request was sent. Zhang Yi looked and saw that it was Cardinal Olive. Olive? He knew why the other party was looking for him. Zhang Yi sat down in a chair, and the sunlight shone down on him, warming and comforting him. Yang Xinxin also sat down next to Zhang Yi, while the others stayed out of earshot. After the communication was established, Zhang Yi saw the face of a man with a face like a sword. Long time no see, Bishop Olive. Long time no see, Your Excellency Chaos. I wonder how you've been considering the matter. If someone else is asking you for help, remember to refuse firmly and not hesitate to say yes. Refusing not firmly will make people hate you and think you are playing with them. If you say yes too decisively, people will feel that this matter is very simple for you and will not be as grateful to you. Zhang Yi and Yang Xinxin had long since made up their minds that they would definitely go to the Demon's Eye in the Sahara Desert. Because compared to the Holy See, they needed to lift the Demon's Eye mark even more. But they had deliberately left Olive hanging in order to gain the initiative, and of course, to prepare themselves. Zhang Yi looked at Olive and remained silent for a while before slowly saying, this concerns the survival of the human race, so logically speaking, I should go. But this is a very dangerous matter, and even I cannot guarantee absolute safety when entering someone else's territory. Olive let out a huge sigh of relief when he heard this. Zhang Yi meant that he could do it, but he had conditions. Please be assured. We have contacted the top mutants from various countries, and they will all participate in the follow-up operations. The reason why we need you to go is that your status as a free man makes it easier for you to enter the KG Kingdom and retrieve the Spear of Longinus. We will provide you with all the necessary supplies. He hastily added, as long as we can provide it. Okay. Zhang Yi stared at Olive and said directly, I want the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Dead Sea Scrolls are the oldest surviving copies of the Holy Scriptures in the world today, and they contain the truth about the world and the story of how the angels sealed the Drucker Titans back then. If you have it, you can peek into the battle between the so-called angels and Drucker back then and learn about the weaknesses of those Drucker Titans. There might be a chance to find a way to escape the end of the world. Zhang Yi even guessed that the angels that the Eastern Orthodox Church had always believed in were actually the 4 powerful knights of the Yihen tribe, Ling, the Knight of the Rabid Dog, the Knight of the Crown of Thorns, and the Knight of the Cross Mask. They had all demonstrated the ability to communicate with the gods. Even when facing Mammon, they had not shown the slightest sign of fear. The reason they had chosen to seal themselves was not that they were unable to defeat Drucker, but that they were tired of the endless confrontation. Upon hearing Zhang Yi's request, Olive's gaze became deep. He lowered his head and pondered for a few seconds before giving a decisive reply. Fine, I'll give you the Dead Sea Scrolls. Just promise to go to the KG Kingdom and help us get the Spear of Longinus. I'll give you the Dead Sea Scrolls right away. The Dead Sea Scrolls are the Holy of Holies of the Eastern Orthodox Church, and are never easily shown to the world. They have always been kept in St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican. However, if Zhang Yi can intervene and retrieve the key seal, something that has only been shown to a very small number of high-level people within the religion, he can also have a look. Okay. Zhang Yi nodded, let's do it. Give me a few days to get ready, and then I'll come find you. The two parties agreed to meet in the Holy Roman Empire city of Olga 3 days later. Olive's face broke into a smile as the call ended. Finally, we got that man to act. The price of the Dead Sea Scrolls was completely acceptable. The worst thing they could have feared was that the other party would not make an offer at all. In that case, their subsequent actions would have become very troublesome. Olive turned around. He was currently in a room decorated in the style of medieval Europe. Olive was in Rome at the time, and this house belonged to Jupiter, the former leader of the Holy Roman Empire. With the death of Jupiter and his family in the Battle of Fremons, their territory was quickly divided up among the surrounding powers. This was why Olive chose to set the meeting here. In the room, in addition to Olive, there were a few other people. If Zhang Yi were here, he would definitely recognize a few familiar faces. Among them were Odin, god of war of the Asgard, a mutant organization of the Europa Alliance, and Saladin, emperor of the Kutan Empire. There were also several mutants of various appearances sitting in the seats next to them. One was a white man dressed in a striped suit who looked polite and courteous, and the other was a black man dressed in clothes sewn from animal skins, his body covered in black like coal. The black man gave off an air of being unapproachable, and everyone else in the room kept their distance from him. He was holding a scepter made of solid gold in his hands, and despite the cold, he was sitting cross-legged on a chair with his bare feet. These two people were one from Colombia across the ocean, and the other was a shaman from the primitive tribe of the Aoshi in northern Africa, Old Ebony Willow Twintwinwenubanusa Biao. For convenience, everyone else called the shaman Odibio. Olive turned to them with a smile and said, "Chaos has agreed. He is willing to come and help us get the Spear of Longinus. As soon as we have the seal, we will move on to the next step." Odibio said to Olive with round eyes, "We have so many first-class mutants here, do we need to invite an Asian mutant over? Tell you what, if you give me enough gold, I'll lead my tribe and help you take care of that guy Ken Sane." Olive pointed at him and said, "No, it has to be Chaos. If people find out that we got the leader of the KG kingdom killed, who will believe in the Eastern Orthodox Church in the future? Besides, Chaos is best suited for this task." Odin looked at the smug Odibio and said coldly, "The KG kingdom is Ken Sane's territory, not yours. Your witchcraft will be ineffective there, while his power will be greatly enhanced. How are you going to fight?" Odibio said unconvinced, "Why can't we fight? Our family and the KG kingdom were one family 500 years ago. They also believe in shamanism." Olive was tired of listening to their bickering and raised his hand to stop their arguing. "All right, this matter is settled. We will wait here for the arrival of Chaos." Having said this, his gaze fell on the man in the black and white striped suit. "I wonder when the mutant troops sent by Columbia will arrive." Magnus smiled faintly, "Please be assured of this. Our people will definitely arrive by the eve of our journey to the Demon's Eye." Odin sneered, "You're being so secretive. Is that how you people in Colombia always do things?" Magnus didn't say anything, but a flash of helplessness passed through his eyes. Because whoever was sent on this mission to the Sahara Desert wouldn't surprise anyone with what they did. Colombia, Franklin State, Vale District. Inside a stately church, the priest was listening to the confession of a believer. A woman's voice is heard from the next room. "Father, I am guilty." "Oh, my child. Tell me your sins. God will forgive you. I once loved a man who said I was the most beautiful woman in the world. I kept that innocence for him and closed the door on love. I studied abroad in the Huashu Kingdom, and I've heard that song before. Just get to the point." "Well, it's actually just like I said. I fell in love with a married man. Obviously I didn't mind that he had a wife and loved him deeply, but he actually rejected me. So I thought that if I could just make his wife disappear, he would fall in love with me. But I didn't expect that he would instead resent me because of it. Do you think I'm being unfair?" "Priest. You must be the reincarnation of Satan, right?" "Priest, oh, this is a great sin. God, how could you do such a thing? Killing someone is the greatest sin. You need to repent and atone for your sins to wash away your guilt. The woman said, but I didn't kill her. I just cut off her limbs because I didn't want her to interfere with my date with him, blinded her so she wouldn't be jealous when she saw us in love, and destroyed her nose and mouth so she couldn't even smell the perfume on me and question why he cheated on her. Is there another woman in the world as considerate as me? The priest was patient again and again, but he couldn't take it anymore. You devil! He clenched his fists and punched the wall, gasping for breath. A woman's voice came from nearby. Father, are you okay? The priest cursed and opened the doors to the confessional and walked outside. Outside the church doors was an old man in a black suit and top hat. He was holding a walking stick in his hand, and looked kind-faced and gentlemanly. Seeing the angry priest, the old man smiled and took off his hat. You have worked hard, Father Anderson. Father Anderson rubbed his head and said, damn it, in the name of God. If this continues, I'm afraid I'll go crazy too. For this kind of thing, next time you'd better go to someone else, okay? The old man smiled helplessly. Don't worry, he won't bite. It's just that sometimes his behavior is a little different from that of ordinary people. As the two men were talking, a deep and cold voice came from inside the church. Huh? Sharon, why are you here? From the shadows, a tall and handsome man walked out. He was almost 2 meters tall, his muscles bulging out of his clothes, and his whole body was like a stone statue sculpted by Michelangelo.